There's a level of discipline that's so consistent, so relentless, that it can actually make other people uncomfortable. Some might even call it frightening. It's that kind of discipline you see in people who, well, they just never seem to fail. Today, we're going to dive into a system inspired by ancient Zen monks that builds exactly that. It's called Gyo-ji, and it's all about creating a practice that just perpetuates itself.
But first, let me ask you something. What if you could make a commitment to yourself, to exercise, to meditate, to finally write that book, and know with 100% certainty that you would follow through? Just imagine that. No more broken promises, no more of that awful cycle of starting strong on Monday and then, poof, giving up by Friday. That's the world we're exploring today. So, how in the world do we get that kind of certainty? Well, the secret isn't about having more willpower. Not at all. According to the Gyo-ji system, it's about how your brain categorizes every single commitment you make. See, it puts them in one of two boxes. Over here on the left, you've got reversible promises. This is where that mental negotiation happens. Should I do it now? Maybe later? I'm kind of tired. It's a battle, and let's be honest, it almost always ends in failure. But then, over on the right, you have irreversible commitments. These, they just happen. There's no debate. They've become part of your identity. To make this all feel a bit more real, we're going to follow the story of a programmer named Raphael. He was a smart guy, super successful in his career, but he was trapped in a loop that I'm sure sounds familiar. He'd join a gym, then quit after 2 months. He'd start meditating, then stop after a week. He tried all the apps, all the tricks, but nothing ever worked because he was fighting the very architecture of his own brain. That is, until he discovered the first pillar of the Gyo-ji system. Raphael's big breakthrough came with this first pillar: public declaration. This is the tool that ends that exhausting internal debate about whether or not you're actually going to show up today. Now look, this isn't just about accountability. There's some real neuroscience at play here. When you state your goal publicly, your primitive brain, the part that's all about survival, interprets failure as a direct threat to your social standing. I mean, think about it. For our ancestors, losing status in the tribe could literally be a death sentence, and your brain is still running on that ancient software. All of a sudden, giving up becomes way more painful than continuing. So Raphael, he stopped making those quiet little promises to himself, and he made a public vow. He wrote down this exact statement, signed it, posted it on social media, and he told everyone. And the language here is absolutely crucial. He didn't say, "I will try to meditate." No, he said, "I am a person who meditates." He was declaring a change in identity, not just promising an action. Right then and there, the negotiation was over. And you can build this for yourself using a really simple 4-step formula. First, you state your new identity. Start with those words, "I am a person who." Then you define the action with zero ambiguity. Next, set a concrete duration, an unbreakable time frame. And finally, the most important part, you have to make it public. Tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, let their expectations become your fuel. So Raphael's public vow, it solved the big problem of quitting, but it didn't solve the daily struggle. He was still waging this little war with himself every single morning. The social pressure got him out of bed, sure, but man, it was exhausting. And that led him to the second pillar, the fixed routine. Every single day, you burn a shocking amount of mental energy. We're talking brain glucose on 2 simple questions. When am I going to do this? And what exactly am I going to do? This decision fatigue is an absolute killer of consistency. It's like you're wasting all your gas just deciding when to drive the car instead of actually driving it. The whole goal of a fixed routine is to eliminate these decisions entirely. In practice, this meant Raphael just locked everything down. 5 a.m. sharp, 20 push-ups. 5:02 a.m., 10 minutes of meditation. 5:12 a.m., 10 minutes of reading. Same time, same order, same duration. Every single day. You might think variety is what keeps things interesting, but let me tell you, variety is where consistency goes to die. This robotic repetition, that's the whole point. And there's a really good reason this works. Research from MIT shows that after you repeat an action in the exact same context for about 66 days, the basal ganglia, it's a part of your brain, kind of like its autopilot, it just takes over. The behavior becomes automatic. You're no longer deciding to do it, you are simply doing it. The goal here is to make willpower completely obsolete. Okay, so Raphael had his public vow, and he had his fixed routine. He was on a roll. But then, life happened, right? He got sick. He had to travel for work. This is the exact point where everyone gives up, because perfect practice requires perfect conditions, and perfect conditions just don't exist.
This brings us to pillar 3, unbroken momentum. I absolutely love this metaphor. Your practice is like a river. It doesn't need perfection. What it needs is continuity. During a drought, it might shrink down to a tiny trickle, but it is still flowing. The moment it stops completely, it's no longer a river. It's just a dry bed where water used to be. The goal is to never, ever, ever stop the flow.
That all or nothing mindset is the single biggest lie that kills consistency. We tell ourselves, well, if I can't do my full workout, I'll just do nothing today. But what that does is create a gap. And that little gap is the exact opening your old, inconsistent self has been waiting for to crawl right back in. On his travel day, Raphael literally did his push-ups in an airport bathroom. Was it perfect? No way. But it kept the river flowing. The way you guarantee that continuity is with what's called a pre-solution plan. Before the chaos strikes, you decide exactly how you're going to respond. You literally write down every obstacle that has ever derailed you in the past, and you create an if X, then Y response. If I'm sick, then I will do 2 push-ups. If we have guests over, then I will do a silent workout in the bathroom. There's no negotiation in that moment of stress because the answer already exists. You've already made the decision. So when you combine these 3 pillars, the public declaration, the fixed routine, and unbroken momentum, something really profound starts to happen. It's not just about building a habit anymore. It's a complete transformation of your identity. After a few months, Raphael's friends started telling him his consistency was scary and not normal. And this is such a crucial signpost. When your discipline starts to make other people uncomfortable, you know you're on the right track. Your existence proves that what they call impossible is really just uncomfortable. They want you to slow down so they can feel better about standing still. And this is the end result. This is the whole game. You stop being someone who tries to be consistent, and you become someone who simply is consistent. That daily battle, it just disappears. The need for motivation, it vanishes. You're no longer doing the practice, you have become the practice. The action is just an automatic expression of who you now are. So the final question isn't really about what you want to achieve. It's about who you're willing to let go of. See, the Gyo-ji system isn't just about building a new you. It's about the death of the old, unreliable, inconsistent you. So are you ready for that transformation?